calling all stations. Clear the air lanes, clear all air lanes for the big broadcast.
Starts to be excited about podcasting, and I do mean excited.
You literally just as soon as I was gonna go, you came in and you had to make fun of my newfound charisma and enthusiasm for this thing that we do. Late, by the way, this time. Hello everyone, I am Bill Worcester, aka Zanzibar. This is the Sons of Serizawa podcast, episode 81. I'm pretty sure that's the number. I'm positive. I'm confidently stating it this time, guys. I'm just gonna say it and hope that that's it. And if it's not, well, to be damned with all of you. All of you, including David Joshua Hernandez, a.k.a. Gorzard.
The pen is truly mightier than the sword.
When was the last time you wrote anything meaningful down with a pen?
I don't know, like 7 years ago?
That's very specific. We're going to have to talk about that at some point. Dylan McCandless, Super DM 64. He's here, of course.
I would counter your point by saying, when's the last time anybody killed somebody with a sword?
It's been a while. Confirmed by Andres Perez, a.k.a. Kaiju Noir.
I'll answer that question, Dylan. Do you recall what happened to the actor who played the Red Wild Force Ranger?
Holy shit, that's right. He murdered a motherfucker with a sword.
But I feel like somebody probably wrote something down with a pen more recently than that happened.
To be honest, I actually write quite a bit with a pen. I do all of my outline writing in long form handwriting, and then I type it up later. So I did that more recently than the Red Wild Force Ranger murdered somebody. So I can almost guarantee it. So I think that's certainly something that needs to be put on the record. Anyway, so we're gonna do a nice, traditional, beautiful, wonderful, poignant episode of the Sons of Serizawa podcast tonight. Andres Perez is going to try to make us care about some shit, of course, at the very top. And then we're going to try and figure out some shady-ass cryptid shit, son. Like, there has never been shadier cryptid shit than this. Like, it's wild. So, Andres Perez, try and make us care about some shit. With shit you may or may not care about with Andres Perez.
All right, I'm going to go with the least important one, at least to all of us. I'm pretty sure all of you have, to some degree, are aware of a certain video game from last year called Overwatch.
No.
Are you familiar with what was it called? Team Fortress 2?
That I'm familiar with, and that I've seen memes based on it.
Overwatch is essentially
Overwatch. That's the one with all the Rule 34, right?
Oh,
yes,
the porn,
yes.
the porno one. Yeah, I know. Okay, yes.
Yeah, it's.
I really
Overwatch...
hope the developers are listening to this and they hear me remember it based on that. Please, I want them to hang their heads in shame.
Well, the reason why you remember it because of the porn is because it was, without a doubt, one of the largest, if not the most popular games of last year. And essentially, it's like Team Fortress 2.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. But hang on a second, Dylan. Yeah. When you and I did the top 10 most, or top 5, whatever the hell, it was like the most popular porno videos of last year. Wasn't one of the categories Overwatch videos?
Yeah, when we went over
I remember that.
When we went over the list of most searched terms, yes, Overwatch was one of them. And at first, I didn't even know what that was. And then you were like, "Oh, I think that's a video game." And then I remembered the commercials for it, and I was like, "Oh yeah."
Oh wow, what an podcast crossover this turned out to be. My God.
So Overwatch is essentially kind of like Team Fortress 2, where it's this gigantic array of colorful characters of different shapes, sizes, and backstories. And there's no story modes. It's just purely a multiplayer-only game. And there's a lot of lore and tie-in, animated short videos on YouTube and comics and a lot of tie-in material. But the game itself is purely just pick your character, you get thrown into a multiplayer match, and then you collect enough points so you can earn random boxes that unlock alternate skins and a bunch of other stuff.
Wait,
let's see.
How is there lore with no story mode? How does that work?
It's the trailers. Like I said, this was made by Blizzard, the same company that made World of Warcraft, so they have like a lot of money.
Not the
behind...
Dairy Queen ice cream product that I like.
So
I love it. You're just kidding. Thanks.
It's like I'm trying to, but I can't move on. So with Overwatch, Blizzard, they have a huge marketing team behind leading up to Overwatch, and they release a lot of shorts detailing the backstories of every character. So it's like you would have a 5-minute short focusing on one character, or you would have like a comic book that featured the war between man and machine. Like the lore of Overwatch is kind of like a post-Terminator world where this is like they just beat Skynet, and this kind of like superhero mercenary government task force that was called Overwatch had been disbanded, and now all these characters are just off doing their own thing. And so Overwatch, the game, is kind of like Smash Brothers, in which it takes all these characters from different backstories and just have you play as them from this new lore and just go to town and shooting each other to death.
Sounds like a good time.
Damn it. I really want a Blizzard now. Fuck you, but
Where's the point coming off of this?
Okay,
That's the one thing I'm interested
David's
about.
got priorities. That's what I like about him. That's why he gets his own spin-off, because he has priorities.
Here's one of the images I can find that showcases the majority of the characters. And they recently added 2 characters since the game's release for free. And what was else I was going to say? Oh, yeah, so this week, or starting last week, actually, as of this recording, Overwatch celebrated its 1-year anniversary. And to celebrate its 1-year anniversary, they decided to have new special costumes. And one particular costume...
Oh, boy. This sounds like it's going to go well.
One of the new costumes looks to be rather familiar for anyone who's a fan of Tokusatsu. So I'll share the link right here, and you'll...
Anybody who's a fan of youporn.com.
No.
Is this where Fat Ultraman comes from, Andres?
I've seen that. I like that. Look up Fat Ultraman, kids. It's a good time for everybody.
It's my favorite addition to the franchise.
Gather your family around your computer and show them Fat Ultraman. It's a community binding experience.
You guys, it's my favorite addition to the franchise, Kamen Rider Bootleg. Yes.
Yes, so they took the ninja character, Genji, who has the ability, who doesn't use a gun. He uses swords and throwing stars, but he's able to move really fast and run across walls and jump over and climb over cliffs or climb over ledges. And so they gave him a Kamen Rider-esque skin to wear. And funny enough, they refer to him as Sentai Genji. So it's funny that it's a Kamen Rider suit, but they call it a Sentai suit.
That is wrong, sir. They got their Ishinomori properties mixed up. That ain't right.
I mean, they could have just been trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Maybe deflecting the Kamen Rider comparisons visually by calling it Sentai.
I mean, maybe if there were like the same costume in an array of colors, then I could see the crossover there, and it would be like, oh, that's neat. It's like a Kamen Rider, but it's also like a Ranger thingy. But no, it just straight up looks like Kamen Rider to me. I don't get any.
And perhaps they just use Sentai because the word Sentai is starting to gain traction in America now that Super Sentai has been released on DVD thanks to Shout Factory, and they just said, fuck it, it's all the same. Sentai, Ultra, Kamen Rider Man, it's all the same.
Fat Ultraman.
It's it's like a totally different series. Ah, you're Indians.
Same difference.
Oh, we're not going to take the boat any farther to find the real Indians or the real tokusatsu brand. We're just going to stay right here and just stick with what we've got.
I think if this is their attempt at referencing tokusatsu things, then Blizzard should probably stick with ice cream.
I agree. More.
Which, by the way, have you had the Blizzard cake? It's tremendous.
Oh, God.
This goes back.
Although this is blasphemous for me anyway. So.
Oh yeah, and the thing
what
is,
happened? What was the deal anyway?
Anniversary skins. 1 year anniversary. They have these skins, but in order to get these,
it wasn't porno related though. There wasn't anybody getting fucked, and people freaked. It was just, oh, this guy has a tokusatsu reference, and
people feel, some fans feel like they're probably getting fucked because these skins are only available between
metaphorically and analogously, sure,
between May 26th and June. What was it? May 26th. And let's see. No. Actually, damn it. When is... May 23rd to June 12th. These skins will be available, but you have to get them the same way you get all the other skins, by playing the game, leveling up, getting random loot crates so you can get random rewards.
So I have to join Loot Crate?
No. Loot Crate is what they call in the game. In the game, when you level up,
the Loot Crate like subscription.
No, not
service.
the loot, not that Loot Crate. A Loot Crate is like, it's a thing that most newer games are doing nowadays, where instead of paying to unlock costumes and stuff, you get a random box after you level up. Like when you play the game, you get points, and when you get points,
you mean you actually unlock things instead of it all being DLC? What a novel concept! What a novel concept! Next thing you know, they'll come up with some kind of code that like bends the rules of the game or something. You know what I mean? Like, well, what an innovation they're making.
True, that sounds great, but the thing is, it's random. So you could get an award that you didn't get before, or you can get a duplicate of the same reward. Because when you get like I said, you play the game, you get points. When you get enough points, you level up. When you level up, you get one loot crate, loot box. That's right, it's called loot box. And when you open the loot box, it would feature 4 little goodies, and which could or could not, may or may not be a skin, alternate skin, and it may or may not be a skin of a character you like, and it may or may not be a skin that you already own or one you didn't have before. So the chances of getting these particular skins are very, like, especially like for me, I only give a shit about the Kamen Rider suit because I like Kamen Rider, and so if I wanted just this, the chances of me getting this particular skin is very, very low. And so I would have to be like playing this game like constantly, like all day and all night before June 12th, when these costumes go away forever.
That is like just as annoying as making you pay for it.
Yeah. And that's kind of, I guess that's the brilliance of Blizzard. It's like, we to celebrate our anniversary, we need to do something to make people go out and play Overwatch again. I get it. We'll use these exclusive things that you would have to spend a lot of time on.
It reminds me of World of Warcraft I used to play back in the day, and on Halloween, you would stand around in a town on Halloween day, and if you saw the Headless Horseman come by, and if you killed him and you got some of his shit, it would be really valuable. Or it would be bullshit, depending on the time that you saw him. So literally dozens of people are standing around with their weapons raised, waiting for him to show up. And all of them are higher levels than you are. He shows up, they all summon other shit to kill him, while you yourself run at him to try and kill him. And then sometimes you get like a helmet that you can sell for like 12 gold, and you're like, yeah, look at me. That's the kind of Blizzard events that I remember. So I think that this might explain why I barely know what Overwatch even is, despite its porn connections, you know? So success-wise, I guess this game has been pretty successful, though, aside from my my lack of interest. So I guess this being kind of dumb ain't gonna hurt them.
I mean, for it to be so popular that you heard about the porn of it,
and that being my only connection point, yeah.
Yeah, that should say something.
So out of curiosity, as somebody who never played World of Warcraft, and you were ragging on us for our ability to get pussy. What? How accurate?
All right, hang on a second. First things first, I was ragging on Andres. I don't know why you're suddenly getting so personally offended, Mr. fucking help a friend motherfucker. So what's your point?
How accurate is that episode of South Park?
Oh my god, that episode is one of my favorite things ever. It's pretty accurate.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. It's just that annoying and tedious, but still kind of imagination capturing. And that it's fun for 30 minutes, and then you'll stop playing it.
All right, then.
You'll threaten to show your dick to a 5-year-old and then leave. Anyway, maybe that was just my experience. I don't know.
You showed your dick to a 5-year-old?
In the game, it was fine. It was a 5-year-old NPC in the game. It was...
Does that make it any better, Bill?
Well, it depends on your perceptions of how digital media works and its implications for whether or not the artificial intelligence is real. Anyway,
which hotkey do you use to whip it out? Like Jesus,
F4D. Anyway,
I'm surprised you remember that.
David confirmed it because he did it as well. Anyway,
I never played Warcraft. I only saw the movie.
You liar. Anyway,
why did you trick yourself to that?
I was curious, and I actually ended up liking it.
Just like me when I showed my dick to that NPC in the game. Anyway,
yeah.
So
imagine the 5-year-old kid was Andres.
It was an NPC, like I said.
What's an NPC?
By the way, this didn't happen.
Non-playable character, David.
I don't think there even were 5-year-old non-playable characters in Warcraft. They were all like 35-year-old men with beards, I'm pretty sure.
Or women.
Yeah, they had beards too.
All right, so moving on. We have a particular event that occurred at this recently passed Phoenix Comic-Con, where one individual who, let's see,
You're so
his name
clinical
was
about this. That's what I love about it. It makes us seem 10 times more professional than we are. Like you outline the victims and the perpetrators in such a clinical way. Like I love it. Go on.
Meanwhile, 31-year-old Mesa resident Matthew Sterling was arrested at the Phoenix Comic-Con on Thursday, May 25th, with a bunch of weapons, claiming that he was the real-life Marvel Comics vigilante, the Punisher, stating that he would kill bad police officers if need to be in order to protect himself and his friends.
Did
and
he
also
actually
claimed
have friends with him?
I doubt it, but let's see. I'm just reading this off.
Friends?
He was protecting his trench coat that he had on him, covering the weapons. That's what he was protecting.
He also allegedly wanted to kill. He also was allegedly wanted to kill the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers actor Jason David Frank, who was a special guest at this year's Phoenix Comic-Con, and claimed that he had a vendetta against the star.
And what was the reason again?
He had a vendetta. I don't know.
He really didn't like that he took over as the Red Ranger. You know, he thought it should have went to one of the original
Rocky.
five.
He was upset that they took that the Green Ranger took it away from the Mexican.
And he was like, why? And he was like, why does he get to come back and teach the Dino Thunder Rangers when it would make much more sense for Billy to come back and be a scientist? Well, like, you know, he was just really pissed off.
He was in fucking space, fucking an alien chick.
He could come back to Earth.
What the fuck is Tommy a teacher now? He was a race car driver at Zeo. This is bullshit.
It would still make more sense than what they did with. I love Dino Thunder, but that makes no fucking sense.
I had read that he had apparently tried to stab Jason David Frank years prior, and it hadn't obviously panned out. And this was like a second go. But I just wonder why exactly Jason David Frank is this dude targeting?
I don't know, but when they got him, he was in possession of 3 handguns, a shotgun, a combat knife, a pepper spray, and throwing stars.
How far was he into the convention, and how close was he to Jason David Frank? Because the way Jason David Frank makes it seem like it's like his he had to like avoid some serious danger here, like he had to jump down a wall or some shit to
Well, like the moment he saw this guy with all like getting his like ninja stars ready, he does some backflips. Yeah. And it turns into like a chase scene from like the Bourne Identity or something.
Like that's exactly what happened, right?
I really wish.
I'd like to think that was the case.
Guy tries to assassinate Jason David Frank, and then he gets fucking ninja'd. Like, I wish that's what had happened. But I'm pretty sure it was probably more like, he got busted by the security guards, and he never
Way before he got even near Jason David Frank.
Yeah, most likely. Let's see. Sterling was reportedly in contact with a female acquaintance via text message and Facebook after learning of Sterling's alleged intent to have a quote-unquote showdown with cops, and seeing that Sterling had posted on Facebook photos of officers
Now, hang on.
at
Maybe
Comic-Con.
he meant like the MLB showdown, like the game, like the card game from back in the day. Like he would be trading with. I don't know. Maybe just a theory. Go on.
No.
She alerted law enforcement of the situation. Police located Sterling sitting on a bench while reading Comic-Con's programming guide. And struggle ensued as cops immediately began to control his hands due to the numerous weapons they saw he had on his body.
Oh my god, it's fucking crazy.
Sterling reportedly resisted, tore off one of the police officers' Phoenix Police PD patch, and pushed his full body weight against the bench he was sitting on so he could not be moved.
Huh.
Let's see. A number of officers eventually subdued Sterling, who was taken to police headquarters to be interviewed by detectives. According to prosecutor Ed, leader of the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, who was present at Sterling's initial court appearance on Friday, the 31-year-old suspect allegedly fessed up about his plans.
And what did he say?
Let's see. Sterling offered numerous fantastical stories to detectives, including tales of bad police officers and an alleged history with Frank. Let's see. Reading down. In regards to Frank, leader said that Sterling's court hearing, Sperling's court hearing, that the suspect intended to attack and potentially kill the actor. Prosecutor also noted that Sterling's phone number Sterling's phone had a reminder set to Thursday to quote unquote kill JDF at Comic-Con. So like he would have been like walking around Comic-Con enjoying the convention, and then his phone would have like a reminder saying, "Oh, by the way, you got to kill this actor now."
Again, but why?
Like, why? If you're planning a murder.
Oh, okay. According to later, Sterling reportedly told detectives that he stabbed the actor 15 years prior and was at Phoenix Comic-Con to finish the job.
Okay, so two questions. Why, and did Jason David Frank confirm that he had been stabbed 15 years prior?
Let's see.
Here's my whole thing. If you're planning a murder, I would think that there would be a lot of concerns on your mind.
Not something that you're familiar with at all?
No.
By the way, the firearms were revealed that they were all real and fully loaded.
Holy shit.
And Matthew was sitting on a 12-gauge shotgun, two 45 caliber handguns.
That just sounds really uncomfortable.
One .454 caliber handgun, a combat knife, pepper sprays, throwing stars. There are signs posted throughout the event that firearms are prohibited, and there are numerous stations where attendees with real weapons or props have them secured with bright-colored zip ties. Matthew avoided these stations and proceeded to the second floor. Let's see. He was wearing body armor under his shirt. He stated he had this on to protect himself. Let's see. Anything else here?
But if I'm planning a murder, there's a lot of thoughts going through my head. Like, where am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? Where am I going to get a barrel of lye to dissolve the body? The last thought I'm going to have is, I better set a reminder in case in the middle of the murder I forget to murder the guy. What?
Yeah, that part doesn't exactly line up. But again, I want to know why exactly
I think
Jason David Frank was the choice to target.
I don't know. He stated in his message and interview with detectives he stabbed the victim 15 years prior. Let's see. I asked Matthew what he meant when he said finishing the job, and he said he wanted to see the victim behind bars. I don't know. He just really wants to see this guy either dead or behind.
Just doesn't like the cut of his jib.
Doesn't like the cut of his jib, yes. Sterling was charged with attempted murder, resisting arrest, multiple counts of aggravated assault, carrying a weapon in a prohibited place, and wearing body armor during the commission of a felony. A judge set a $1 million bond in the case. Sterling is due back in court on the matter in early June.
Again, did Jason David Frank confirm that he had been stabbed 15 years prior?
No. I mean, for all we know, this could be just the ramblings of a crazy schizophrenic person.
Again, I want to know if anybody even attempted to confirm that.
I want to say maybe, because he certainly made a lot of videos concerning the event on his Facebook. I didn't really watch a lot of them, except one where he just thanked his fans that, like, he showed up in court as like a witness or as like a character. What would you call it? Character witness? No. He just showed up to in court to give his statement, and I think he decided to be private about that, and he just made videos on. He just made videos. Go ahead.
How fucked up would it be if Jason David Frank actually had done some like terrible shit to this guy in the past, and then he shows up to his trial just so he can like wink at him from the audience?
I understood that reference.
So he made just videos saying like, "Thank you all for your support. I'm fine. Nothing happened. Just thank God nothing bad happened. But don't worry, I'll be back at the convention the next day because I don't want to let this ruin everyone else's fun."
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
And this
he probably needs the money for all those days.
He does do a lot of this, so I assume he does.
Yeah. Before
I assume he enjoys it. Yeah,
he's
a good dude.
Yeah,
me
too.
He's a good dude.
I mean, he travels all over the world because people all over the world want to see him. So what's wrong with that?
All he does is make his fans happy. It's unfortunate something like this happened to him.
Yeah. Funny enough, I think he was.
Don't try to murder Jason David Frank.
Yeah, we're all agreed on that, right? We're gonna make that statement.
Yeah.
We're all gonna politically align on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even saying that for any moral reason. It's just you're going to fail. Better men than you have tried, namely, Zed, Mesogog. They've all attempted this, and it just doesn't work out.
They always end up fucking turning into mush, or no, they all end up turning into less attractive male actors later on. Like that's what happened to Zed. That's what happened to Mesogog.
Whoever the villain was in that Forever Red special, I mean, it just doesn't work out for anybody.
He blew up in a big snake. Do you want to blow up in a big snake? I don't think so. Avoid blowing up in a big snake. Don't try to hurt Jason David Frank or his fans.
The only thing I want to do inside of a big snake is whatever the fuck John Voight did to get the fuck out of there.
At least he still died. I mean, it's not like that went any better for him than it did for the guy in Power Rangers Wild Force.
True.
I will say that it's really weird to see some certain articles that would publish this story where it's like real life Punisher attempts to kill the Green Ranger, and then
they all really over dramatized it, and I think that Jason David Frank was aware of that and was kind of subtly making it aware that he wasn't really about that and was trying to be like kind of dignified about the whole thing. So it's definitely
he was like, guys. I haven't been the Green Ranger for a long time, okay?
I did not try to morph when he came at me. I never saw him. I don't have a morpher. It's all fictional.
This is one of the thumbnails. This is an example of one of the stupid thumbnails on this story.
So get your shit right, all right? It's
realistically, here's the thing. When I make the thumbnail for this YouTube video, I'll probably do the same thing. But it's not with the idea to actually be genuinely trying to go like, oh, this is what happened.
Yeah, we're being stupid on this on this show.
I'm just trying to get people to click on my YouTube channel, man. That's all I want. I just want people to like me and and watch my stuff. That's all I want. I don't have many.
I just want to be loved.
I just want love. I don't have many things in life,
This is a fan film waiting to happen, and the best part about making this into a fan film is that it could be the first Power Rangers fan film to start with, based on a true story.
Of course, we would have to. Maybe we can get. If you look at here's the individual himself, Matthew Sterling. Maybe you can get someone like I don't know Josh Gad to play him. or Jonah Hill.
Andres, do you have a connect with Josh Gad or Jonah Hill?
Unfortunately, I do not.
Then guess what? You're gonna play him.
Or we could just get Oh God damn it! Bill just made my joke.
Well, David, we could have you do it.
Well, I was gonna say let's have Bill do it because he's non-union.
I look absolutely nothing like the dude in the imagery. If anything, you're
let
the
your hair
closest visual approximation.
I mean, you rocked the mullet before. You can do it again.
I don't think rocking is a.
But he's blonde. He's blonde, David.
Yeah, again, I look nothing like the guy.
Well, then again,
we are very
Aryan.
We are very Aryan people, and this is a very not Aryan person.
I can't say it, but that's that's the perfect suggestion, Dylan.
Yes. I thought it was silently.
All right, why don't we move on?
Okay, moving on to even more sadder stories. Is that recently?
Did you list these by least important or like most depressing? Like, because it seems to be going most depressing.
Most important.
Okay.
So recently, Zack Snyder exited on the Justice League film due to a certain particular horrific family tragedy in which one of his daughters committed suicide. And when he made the announcement to step down, Warner Brothers quickly kind of swooped in and announced that Joss Whedon, known famously for stuff like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Firefly and the recent Avengers movie, he will be taking over directing duties to work on Justice League. But before then, it was already announced, I believe. Not announced, but they confirmed that Zack Snyder was already planning on leaving. And his daughter passed away in March, and so I think they were already making plans since then. And I want to say it was March was around the same time they brought in Joss Whedon to announce the Batgirl movie around this time, and he was already working on, I think, like certain elements of the additional photography for some particular scenes on Justice League, before eventually deciding to just make the announcements like 2 months down the line. And so Zack Snyder is out due to a horrific family tragedy, and now Joss Whedon is taking over what little remains that needs to be filmed for Justice League.
It's insane, man. We live in an insane world with insane people in an insane time. That's all. It's crazy and depressing and sad, but also like... But it's also like at the same time. I mean, let's just say it: the guy who kind of jump started this whole idea of the superhero shared universe crossover movie is now doing it with the DC characters, like he did with Marvel. That's a little. Insane. It's a little. It's a little weird. Like, let's not stand on brass taxes here.
My only concern at this point is, two different directors. We might wind up with some tonal dissonance in the movie, and I wonder if he's going to be in the driver's seat long enough to salvage this thing.
Well, okay, okay. So here's the thing. It's so hard for me to even get over like the depressing origin point of all of it, because it's so rough for somebody to leave a creative vision like that. So yes, it's definitely going to be felt in the movie. However, I like Joss Whedon, and I think that whatever we get, we'll try to comment on everything that Snyder was trying to do before, and everything that needed to be done after, as best he can. And I just think that we all need to realize that these are people doing a job, and sometimes they're not able to approach the job as best as they could when they think they need to be able to. And I think that, for one, him leaving so honestly and publicly really needs to be commended, because not everybody would have done that. If he would have stayed on and then, talked about it afterwards, I feel like that would have been 10 times worse. Because then the movie's legacy would have been... I mean, I guess it sort of will be forever, like, the movie, like nobody will ever be able to talk about this movie without bringing that up. You know, unless something else happens. You know, like unless it comes out and something's in it that makes us go, "What the fuck?" But I don't know, man. It's a crazy world, crazy times. I just wonder how the credits are gonna read.
Yeah, I guess it might say directed by Zack Snyder and
additional directing by Joss Whedon, or like featuring special guest director Joss Whedon,
co-directed by Joss Whedon, I guess.
Like, wait, didn't Tarantino had
I went to school for this shit? I should know this.
Didn't Tarantino get like a guest director credit for one scene in Sin City?
Maybe, I don't know. All I know is that
did he?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Andre, I've never actually seen that movie. You've just convinced me to watch a scene of it.
All I know is that this thing is kind of unprecedented in our lifetimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
A big movie like this that was so far into production, and he just decides to lay his focus elsewhere for very understandable, personal, and sad reasons.
And it's also really sad because, to some degree or another, we all had issues with Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and
it's not like we did a podcast ranting about it.
Right, and pretty much like we all were very nervous when we learned that that Zack Snyder was attached to direct Justice League as well. So it's like a lot of mixed emotions. Like in one case, you're happy that they got a new guy to continue on with Justice League, but on the other hand,
somebody who's like always done interesting, good shit.
Yeah, but it's like the thing you need to do, the thing fate had to do to get us to this point.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Is really fucked up. Really fucked up.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people have also been talking about the online discussions about all this. I haven't seen a lot of it, but apparently some of it's been like really horrible, and some terrible things have been said and thrown in Zack Snyder's way over all this. But you know, with the reaction to Batman v Superman and these DC movies in general, and the climate of the internet and these superhero movies right now, it's terrible, but that's just the way humanity works, bro. It's a terrible mishmash of awful and good people trying to make the best out of everything. And maybe
people suck in general.
Maybe this movie will be the best. Will be the best example of that ever. You know, a weird kind of terrible mishmash of people trying to make the best of something, and maybe it'll positively comment on that. Maybe we can hold out that kind of hope.
No.
Fuck it.
I mean,
that is why I love you, because you just always pull the carpet out, and that's just it's so reassuring. I love it.
I mean, obviously, we would all like for him to have left under better circumstances. But you know, we pretending not to be happy about the change in director isn't going to undo the tragedy that happened. You know, and that sort of thing would have happened anyway. So
I don't know, man. I almost can't bring myself to care about being happy over the fact that a guy who I have been so impressed with these DC movies being switched out to somebody who I kind of love on principle. I can't bring myself to care because I haven't really become invested in this DC universe yet enough.
True, that's true. Although from what I've heard, Wonder Woman might be the thing to turn us around.
I hope so. I'm sudden they finally started marketing that movie, and suddenly I got pretty excited for it.
I know recently they did at the Alamo Draft House, I believe they did an all women screening of the an all women's preview screening of the movie.
Oh, another example of the internet being a wonderful example of humanity.
Oh yeah, because of course you got to have some people who are complaining about, no, this is stupid, and then there are people who are saying, no, you're stupid for thinking it's stupid, and
everybody should have been fine with it and shut up and just gone to see the movie at their local theater when they could.
Let this thing happen. Let them have their thing.
Everybody should just see the movie whenever they can if they want to. I think that's it. That's all I think.
This is bullshit. Why should women get to see it first? This is just Some social justice warrior feminist bullshit.
Listen, was it stupid? Yeah, it's an empty gesture, but does it matter? No. It doesn't matter at all.
It's not
yeah,
going to lead to
stupid,
us
fine.
getting castrated, you know? like it's not like they're going to not let us see the movie now, you know? Like, oh, only women can see it. It's like, I'd be like,
Just
well,
let
I mean,
them have this thing.
well, I'd be like, I mean, I'll just find it online anyway, so you know.
Yeah,
Like that's
I'm
that's
just gonna-
fine. Like especially if it's garbage, like these, you know, these past DC movies maybe have been a little bit. So, you know, we'll see. Anyway, so all in all, just another shining example of great,
humanity's glorious achievements.
exactly, in internetdom.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Quentin Tarantino is labeled a special guest director for Sin City.
That's crazy.
At least on the poster
Like-
and the opening credits.
Like it's crazy when you see that in a movie where it's like, oh, special guest star. It's like, what is this, a fucking TV show?
Well, in the case of Josh Whedon, I don't think he's gonna get credit because
Joss
they've-
Whedon, number one, not Josh Whedon.
Whedon.
Josh Wheaton's.
You see, even Andres is getting it fucked up.
No, he did that to make fun of you, you dick nugget.
Oh,
Don't pronounce it.
motherfuckers.
Don't pronounce it with a T, because then I think of Will Wheaton, and then I think, shut up, Wesley.
By the
So what is
marvelous
the
Lord.
proper way to pronounce Joss Whedon?
Like that.
No,
Like
not
that.
like that. Joss Whedon. Say it with me.
Joss? Oh wait, you go first or I go first?
Just David, say it properly, please, before I have an aneurysm.
Joss Whedon.
I think he did it right.
You'd think.
Yeah.
You'd think.
Somebody's like, hey,
Yeah.
why does somebody's like, hey, why does Joss always write his female characters the same way? And you just shrug and go, that's Joss Whedon.
Oh yeah, then
Well,
also
As
he
I
meant
was saying,
like yeah.
a majority of Justice League is already filmed. Whatever.
Right.
It's
Whedon-
done, seemingly.
Right. He's just editing. He's just helping everything come together for the release.
Well, and the reshoots. Like this movie's not coming
Yeah,
out
but-
until November. Like they've got time, man. They've got time to.
There will be reshoots, and the internet will lose its shit over it for no
Yes.
reason.
Again, more shining examples of humanity. Muhaha.
Here's similar precedents. Fan-4-Stick.
Yeah, that turned out well.
Yeah, I mean, what was his name? Josh Trank? Josh Tank?
You
Trank.
had it right the first time. David, do you have like some kind of disease that makes it impossible for you to pronounce names right?
That's a
Or
possibility.
remember the
Lately-
remember the geographical locations of your own friends and family.
That's a different situation, Andres.
Remember how Andres lives in Thailand? Yeah.
To be fair,
I thought he lived in Tokyo.
These names these days, whatever happened to people named John Smith? Jesus.
By the way, do any of you remember where I live currently?
Called,
Chinatown?
Yes. Okay.
it's called
Chiba.
Gifu, Japan.
Sapporo.
Yes, Gifu.
I
You
knew
read
that.
somewhere, didn't you?
No. I totally knew that off the top of my head. My spy,
right, yes.
my spy satellites are in position.
Is
Yes,
that Japanese for
Gifu.
is that Japanese for bumblefuck?
Gifu has the kanji for mountain in the name, so it could mean like mountainous region or land of the grassy fields or the land of the grassy mountains. I don't know.
The
Oh
land-
God, so you basically live in Japan, Pennsylvania. Oh
the
no.
land of the bumblefucks.
You know the environment for like Frankenstein versus Baragon and what was it, War of the Gargantuas? It's all like hills and occasional cities here and there.
And pig farms. And Japanese people walking along rivers singing.
It's that. Yep. Rivers, all of it. Yeah. Fishermen,
Japanese people
bikes.
singing.
They don't sing. They're too shy about that.
I thought you went to like karaoke nights and shit, and they're like, yeah.
But that's the thing. Karaoke is when you're all in the privacy of your own room among your friends.
Oh, you do that in
Outside.
private?
Yeah, it's all private rooms. It's not like a karaoke bar in America where it's just one room, one TV, and a bunch of drunken-ass people. No, it's all like private rooms.
Oh.
You have like 20. You have like a bunch of 20 rooms, each with their own TVs, with their own touchscreen tablets to select your songs.
Oh, wow. That's a
Andres,
lot less social than I expected.
Oh,
Andres,
of course, it's
really,
Japan. They're all about avoiding social. Well, it's about socializing, but it's socializing privately.
On your own terms.
Andres, does Japan really have like themed hotels that exist specifically for like people to fuck in, or did the movie The Wolverine lie to me?
My friend accidentally stumbled upon one of those.
Oh, accidentally.
And
You have a friend who's good at lying.
with it's in Tokyo. Something like that would only exist in a big city like Tokyo. Which
Nice.
technically I learned that Tokyo is not even a real city. It's just a giant ass like county state like area that's treated like there's like a certain portion of Tokyo that's kind of like the equivalent of okay, this is Tokyo City. This is like the capital where all the government shit happens. Meanwhile, all these other parts of Tokyo, we just give them different names.
I see.
The city part that you were talking about is the part that Godzilla destroys, right?
It's all one gigantic city-state sort of deal, but there's one particular group of sections that's like the capital part.
That's where he mainly likes to wreck shit.
Yes, with the Capitol building that you would see him like loom over and kick around.
He has a good sense of direction, that giant lizard.
Yeah,
Where
it's
is
like
the wall? Where's the wall of giant electrical towers? Where is that located?
In your imagination, because it's impossible.
Yes. Because it don't exist.
And
Why
it
are they
was
so
just
good at directing?
a optical effect that was roughly put in, very experimentally.
And why are they so good at erecting things so quickly? Can you
I
tell
was
me
about
that?
to say the same thing. It just spontaneously appears overnight.
Based
Because
on
they
your,
know how to work as a team better than anyone else can. It's all
You gotta
about
understand-
teamwork. You're either with us or against us.
Wow.
You know,
Are you
We're
in
gonna
a
pray-
Japanese cult? Is that...
you gotta understand, Andres. You're our man in the field. You're our fucking Jane Goodall. You're the guy out there observing the Japanese species in their
You're
natural
our
environment.
Steve Martin in Godzilla King of the Monsters. Here I am now, George, looking out the window. There's a bunch of Japanese people mulling about. Oh no, they're not actually mulling about. They're running from something. Oh, they're running from each other because they don't want to socialize. Oh, I see. Okay.
They do want to socialize, but in smaller groups.
They're forming into groups of 3, and they're all the same gender, by the way. There's nothing sexual at all about it.
Do I smell some Andres memes coming?
I don't know.
Why?
Is that something you can smell?
Possibly.
Are you gonna make like an odor, like a candle that's like a scent of Andres making memes or being a meme?
I've always assumed that
what-
Andres smelled like...
What the fuck are you doing?
Why would
what
you
I
have
smell
to
like?
assume? You slept in the same bed as him. Ooh.
Oh,
Oh,
fuck.
all right. I forgot about that. My memory blocked.
Oh, I bet you
I
did.
think
Oh,
blocked that from
I
my memory.
fucking bet you did.
Podcast
Because
that launches
motherfuckers
without
wouldn't let me
saying-
sleep. I still have nightmares of that night.
I'm definitely not cutting this out either.
You don't cut anything out.
Nope. I'll cut out like if
Yo, Bill,
everybody.
you
fucks off
remember
for a while, but
you
that
remember
never
how this
happens.
kid was snoring at the last treatment?
Yeah, I remember. We were all laughing in the middle of the night. Unable to cope with it because we were like, this is literally unbearable. Like, none of us are going to be able to sleep until he calms down. Like, it was just waiting for, like, the pounding to subside.
What
So
killed me was
imagine how I felt when the two of you snored.
Was I snoring that bad?
Yes! Both of you. Well, Andres worse, but you were equally as annoying because an hour after Andres would stop snoring, then you would start. Then I would have to wait another hour for you to finish, and then suddenly Andres would start up again. This went on for the whole night.
What killed me was when Andre stopped snoring for a minute, and we were all like, "Oh, good, he's done." And then we like started to settle in, like we were gonna fall asleep. And then all at once, as if it had been building inside of
Then
him,
all of a sudden,
he just like exploded like a fucking firecracker went off.
It's funny because I'm never aware of this, any of this.
it's amazing. You are literally like an animal when you're asleep. It's all your hatred and rage built inside of you when you're awake. It comes out when you're asleep.
Your nice, quiet Japanese neighbor probably hear you through their paper walls, and they're like, "What the fuck?"
Is there a raccoon trying to kill another raccoon in there?
You're gonna call the science patrol to investigate your ass.
Ultraman's totally gonna murder you. He does very little except that. That's pretty much all he's there for.
I have a picture of Ultraman with a pillow ready to smother me to death.
Bill has this weird impression.
It's gonna be like the ending of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
But Bill has this weird impression of Ultraman from seeing the little of Ultraman that he's seen, where, like, you know, the most iconic Japanese superhero of all time, he sees them as just this like raving crazy person. Just goes around.
No, he doesn't rave. He's totally silent. He's a silent killer. He's like he's the Japanese Michael Myers. He just goes around and murders things, whether he intends to or not. Things die when Ultraman's around.
Like he has this really weird interpretation of how he came to be bonded with Hayata. He like views it as a murder when it's more of like a traffic accident.
Manslaughter, vehicular manslaughter. Anyway, so Andres, what's the next story? I don't even know if we finished.
We're done.
All right. So what's the next one?
No, we're done. We're done.
That's
it.
Oh wow.
That's
all right.
it. Overwatch, Power Ranger attempted Power Ranger murder, and Batman v Justice League.
Wow, you definitely ordered it in the range of most depressing, and I can't say that my cryptid news tonight is going to be any less depressing. So, we really planned this out well. So why don't we move on then to the next segment, cryptids? Who knows? I've got a double whammy for you kids tonight. I've got a very particular cryptid I've been promising for a while. We're going to talk about. And then we're going to do a game, a different game than we've done prior. So let's start out with the particular cryptid. I've been promising you the Mothman for a while. You guys want to talk about the Mothman? We're going to talk about the Mothman.
I like the Mothman.
So he
was a pretty decent Teen Titans villain for that one episode.
So what do y'all know about the Mothman?
Terrible as a Batman villain, though. Until he made that deal with the demon and turned into an actual moth creature. That helped things out a bit.
Well, the eventual design...
And for the people who want to correct us in the comments, yes, I know his name is Killer Moth, not Mothman.
Although the name of the cryptid was based on Batman. Somebody who designed the original art for the creature and the statue that's now in the middle of Point Pleasant. I believe it's in Pennsylvania.
That looks nothing like the eyewitness accounts.
Yes, well, the original eyewitness accounts have nothing to do with moths. They're just winged, bird-like strange creatures that had red eyes that would follow them around and stalk them.
The problem with the Mothman is his episode.
He only appeared for like a very short time and then disappeared and never appeared again.
Well, of course, the whole deal with
Titans episodes are always the weirdest ones too. You know, it's the ones with the guy with the spider for a head. Anyway, this has gone off.
Is it a whole spider or is it just like a spider head?
Yeah, it's literally this guy has a whole spider as a head, like the legs and everything.
Oh.
But he also has like the fucking human body dangling underneath.
That's my nightmare there.
I'm gonna look for a picture of that just to.
Oh no, I don't want to see that.
Just to give Bill nightmares.
Oh, I don't want to see that. Anyway, I want to talk about the Mothman.
Bill,
okay.
Speaking of which, didn't you promise us Richard Gere?
So we'll get to Richard Gere. So in my hatred for him, do you mean I promised like his corpse on your doorstep, like after I murdered him for every injustice he's done upon the world?
What the hell would I want with Richard Gere's body?
I don't know. Whatever the hell you could do anything with it. You could fucking prop it up in your car and drive around with it, and people think that you're hanging out with Richard Gere, and you know.
You mean like Mad Max?
That's a way. That's a way to get pussy. Oh, Mad Max! You put it on the hood of your car and like strap it on a pole and drive it around town.
Don't ask me what to do with Richard Gere's body. You know, whatever smokes your sausage there.
Anyway, can we get back to the Mothman, please? So initially the Mothman starts out as these police reports from people driving around roads in Pennsylvania going, there's some weird winged creature chasing me and my wife while we were trying to make out on the roads, and it then left us. I mainly got tonight's Mothman info from Snopes.com and from various other Wikipedia links. But the Mothman, of course, is most famous for all of the sightings leading up to the collapse of a bridge in Pennsylvania. I'm going to look up very quickly the name of the bridge.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember that.
So this is the most important thing. So there are interpretations of the Mothman reports that, and this is obviously the thing that got built into the folklore of the town, that the creature was an omen or a warning that the bridge was going to collapse, and maybe even caused the bridge collapse for some reason, and that the deaths of all the people during this disaster were preordained, again, to be just as positive and lighthearted as we were in the news section. But hang on just one second. I'm trying to find the name of this bridge. Mothman Bridge. That's the name. The Silver Bridge. It's not in Pennsylvania. My bad. It's in Ohio, which is very near to Pennsylvania, as we know. But the bridge was built in 1928. Location: Point Pleasant, Canoga, Ohio. I guess that's the name. So the creature was apparently reported the morning of the bridge collapse, but that was like one of the only times it was actually sighted in that year. Most of its sightings were in the prior year, 1966, which is again when it was just a big bird reported by the local yucks. And the name Mothman and the design didn't really get attached to it until much later. Now, all of the folklore around the Mothman kind of, again, it got built up over time, sort of like the Jersey Devil when we talked about that. The whole idea of the Men in Black actually starts with the Mothman. Men in black suits coming in to investigate eyewitness reports following the bridge collapse in connection to it as a potential terrorist disaster. However, Men in Black reports are much more associated with UFO sightings, and the thing is, the term Men in Black was coined.
Holy shit!
What?
You just developed like one of those fucking like accents. The toim. Who is it? Somebody has that kind of an accent. Who is it? Fuck. You know what I'm talking about.
I don't know. Anyway, so that all actually came later thanks to a book, a half fiction, half non-fiction book. I'm gonna look up the name of the writer, called The Mothman Prophecies, which is of course the inspiration for the Richard Gere movie, which was the place where the Mothman gained cinematic notoriety. The name of the author though was John Keel. And he included UFO reports into his rendition of the Silver Bridge collapse. He in the book writes himself as a journalist investigating the bridge collapse and the connections of all the paranormal stuff to it. People who'd seen the Mothman, people who'd seen UFOs, people who'd seen Men in Black, and he was the first one to really coin that term. And again, his account though, account in quotes, is fictitious in part and done to be a thrilling story. You know, it's a book, it's a novel. It's not meant to be like, oh, this really happened. But it does sort of get by in some of its suspense for partially being based in reality on a real disaster and some stories that may or may not have happened. So, I do want to read the book, but because it sounds kind of interesting to see where all of that, really kind of important pop culture iconography begins. Like the Men in Black is a big deal. I like that Will Smith movie and the song. So I want to see where all that started, obviously. But it is certainly an interesting story. Don't you guys agree? At least in terms of the connection to the bridge collapse.
Yeah, my only problem with the Mothman story is that it's one of those things where there's no sources of evidence other than eyewitness accounts. And even looking into the eyewitness accounts, you notice that everyone almost has a very different interpretation as to what the Mothman was, as if everyone was just copying from the very first eyewitness account just to gain notoriety.
And they added on their own little twist to it. So
yeah. It's like, oh, it's black. It had black feathers. No, it had white feathers. No, it was brown feathers. And other than like the glowing eyes, there was always like a different thing. Like you said, they were adding to their own adding their own interpretation to it.
In my opinion, the Mothman would have been nothing more than a Jersey Devil type thing, where it would have just been a stupid local folk legend, which is all it kind of is now. Again, the only thing that makes it different and somewhat kind of credible is its connection to the bridge, but that is somewhat tenuous at best, even because the bridge collapse was given like a proven, scientifically explained reason to have happened. Like there was steel corrosion. They proved that when it happened. So
also,
it's not a
many
mystery as to why it happened.
Yeah, and also many people have suggested that it could have been just a big owl, and that their fear and imagination kind of made the threat more bigger. As just like a scared owl that was flying towards their car, and so the light reflected. Yeah.
There was another bird that was almost scientifically proven to be the culprit for the Mothman at the time. There, I have to look it up.
Like
again.
A barn owl?
No, not an owl. A heron. Or a crane.
Okay.
I'm gonna look it up. Mothman, Snopes. Again, Snopes is king and all this.
Because if you have an owl like bob its head down, it looks like it's in that same similar headless shape with the big eyes on on the humanoid chest.
Well, last year in November, they're almost celebrating the 50th anniversary or the 60th anniversary, whatever it would be, of the Mothman's original sightings. There were pictures of a new Mothman reported in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, as it said here. Fucking point is, Snopes got into the original Mothman legends, and where's the actual name of the bird here? That's what I'm trying to find. This is annoying. Now it crapped out on me. It crashed and went to a different page. I hate mobile articles that do that. It's so fucking annoying. Just give me a second here. I'm just trying to find. So it's a heron. I can confirm that at the very least. Not a crane. Heron.
Okay.
I'm just trying to find the specific name of the heron. Well, doesn't look like that again. So fuck it. It don't matter. The point is, reportedly, a bunch of these herons' migration was fucked up by the weather that in that particular year. They went off course and went into this region of America where people were unfamiliar with them. They're big. They have red areas around their eyes that have been known to glow in the dark, and they're gigantic and not known in the area. And they may have been flying around at night trying to correct their pattern when they wouldn't have been normally, like when the Mothman was reportedly sighted. And again, the Mothman wasn't reported to be a big moth at first. He was reported to be a big bird. So, and initially, people were like, oh, maybe it's a big bird that was mutated in one of the local mills that's near here that are now abandoned. That was also one of the theories around the Mothman. And, again, I think that lines up better with the heron explanation. So, to me, the Mothman is a weird story that probably has no real basis in truth, that inspired a whole bunch of insane, really interesting, kind of important stuff. So,
and really put this obscure town placed this obscure town on the map.
That's the thing. It's a tourist trap, ain't it? That's the real point of the Mothman. And it's like the Jersey Devil. Again, the only thing that makes it better is the bridge thing. But it's like the Jersey Devil, and it is there to make people forever remember the name Point Pleasant, and whenever people drive through it, they will stop and take pictures with the Mothman statue. That's what it's there for. Now, let me ask you guys this. Is it fucked up that is used in that way due to its connection to the bridge collapse? To be fair, the Mothman statue doesn't say, like, oh, in commemoration of all the people who died in the bridge. Like that, officially, if you ask the town, there is no official connection. It's just kind of a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
But, obviously, those two things have forever been tied. How do you guys feel about that?
I feel like enough time has passed to where they can acknowledge this significant part of their town's culture, or at least in relation to pop culture. So I don't really see that much of a problem with it.
Mm-mm. Other thoughts on the Mothman? David, you've been quiet.
I mean, at the time, it probably would have been fucked up, but now it's kind of like a why not type of situation.
What do you mean by why not? Why not Mothman be a thing?
Yeah.
Collapsing bridges?
Yeah, because, I mean, how long has since the bridge collapsed? It's been 50 years.
1967. So yeah, I guess it's been exactly 50 years, huh?
I mean, this year it's been 50 years. So I mean, it's if you think about it, I mean, it is kind of fucked up to the families. But
yeah, well, I mean, to them, it's like they probably don't watch the Mothman documentaries and the Richard Gere movie and fucking have a very positive opinion of its connection to the bridge collapse.
And I did want to bring up this photo because I know someone, again, in the comments might point out a particular photo that allegedly features the Mothman perched on the bridge. However, I will share the photo with you guys. That is not the bridge in Point Pleasant, and that is just a piece of hardware that is falling off, and you can see the hardware on the other two points of the bridge, and this one is just like hanging off its side. And if you look at the corner, it shows that the photo was taken in 2003, years after the Mothman sightings finished.
However, it does suggest that the Mothman did, there were other Mothman stories later and other sightings later, which there were, and there were other bridges where they were sighted that also collapsed. So that there's a whole conspiracy that followed the Mothman even outside of Point Pleasant, where people would report seeing creatures like him around or near terrible tragedies. So that is the interesting thing about the Mothman that has stuck around, despite the fact that there is zero physical evidence or continuing motivation to continue the search that motivates any interest or belief in it. So maybe it's kind of disappointing.
Have any of the Mothman movies ever been about, like...
Of the two of them, both of them are bad.
Do either of them... Because I just thought of this as a possible plot for a movie. Are either of them about a person who had a family member die in one of those bridge collapses and is hunting the Mothman for that reason?
Well, the original one's kind of like that. The bridge collapse happened in the past. Like, that was 40 years ago when that movie was made. There is a modern tragedy where Richard Gere's wife is in a car accident that is connected to the Mothman, he believes. Mm-hmm. And he's investigating Mothman sightings in connection to that to try and see why it's connected. And there's a whole bunch of people in this town who apparently have seen the creature and all kinds of amnesia that's going on. It's crazy. It's a terrible movie. I hate it. Richard Gere is a fucking waste of space. They should do that. That would be the way to do it, though. The other one is a bad made-for-TV sci-fi movie with a bad CGI Mothman, and the origin is more in line with the like idea that it was like a mutation from a mill, because I think that's where it comes from, and it kills teenagers who are fucking in a lake. So, that kind of business. So anybody,
the usual stuff.
So anybody else have anything else they want to say about the Mothman? Like. Better than the Jersey Devil or worse than the Jersey Devil?
Oh, a million times better. First of all,
the story's better.
You have the interesting idea of him being like an omen for bad shit happening. Like that's great. That gives you a lot of potential.
Although he really should be doing better stuff than just chasing around couples making out on lonely roads in order to warn them about the bridge.
Yeah, well, Mothman's got to do what a Mothman's got to do, but also another reason that I have an affinity for this cryptid. Great design going on. He's very visually
it's very unique. Yeah.
Well, again, that all came later. But although there were not entirely true, initial rough sketches of shadowy silhouettes with red eyes became very iconic for the Mothman. That did eventually become part of the final design that we all now know. And that is certainly interesting and compelling. But again, I think the whole heron thing is the most likely thing to me. I don't know, how do you guys feel about that explanation?
It makes a lot of sense for it just to be a large species of bird, be it heron or owl.
The whole idea was that they were off their normal migration path, and they ended up in this part of the country, and people were seeing them while they were unfamiliar with them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that makes it a lot more compelling, I think that kind of clinches it for me. So cryptids, who knows? I think I know that this is probably not true, but who knows? I don't. That's actually going to wrap it up for the Mothman, because our game in particular actually isn't connected specifically to the Mothman. It's more general cryptid stuff, but the Mothman does lead us into it, because the Mothman, of course, is a cryptid who is very specifically tied to a very specific town, very specific part of the country, West Virginia, the southeastern United States, as it's known, and Point Pleasant, as it's specifically known. And we tonight are going to be doing a game that relates to cryptids who are specifically connected to certain states and certain parts of the country that they are specifically tied to in their lore, and that makes them definitive. And the game is going to be, I'm going to give you the name and a rough description of the cryptid, and you have to tell me which state it originates from. I'm going to give you a list of 3. All right? So that's the game.
All right.
So there's 7 of them. We'll do. Can one of you guys keep score?
Okay.
All right. So Andres, mark down you, David, and Dylan, and just give yourselves a little tally for when each one of you gets one right.
All right.
And I'm gonna reveal them as we go. I'm gonna let you guys give your answers one by one. But I'll tell you which one is right at the end of each little round. So technically there's 7 rounds, so we'll go through them one by one. Does everybody get the rules? Does anybody else need me to preamble it anymore?
I'm excited to be the next contestant on Name That Bullshit. Let's go.
None of these are necessarily gigantic name cryptids, and none of these are necessarily stuff that we will probably do later. They're all kind of definitely bullshit. And the little description I've attached is kind of all you really need. So we'll go through them one by one. So let's start with number 1, and as Dylan called it, Name That Bullshit. So let's start out with Kipsy, a river-dwelling sea serpent known to chase swimmers, mainly seen in 1899 and 2008. Which state did it originate in? North Dakota, New York, or Louisiana? Let's start with Dylan. What do you think, bro?
Gee, the one I had in mind wasn't one of the multiple choices. The name Kipsy, for some reason, struck me as kind of like something from Minnesota. North Dakota,
Why Minnesota?
New York. I don't know. It just sounds...
Minnesotan? Oh, I went down to the local river. I was taking a swim. I saw a fucking Kipsy. I did. I don't know why they talk like Canadians, but they will. And apparently Kipsy is like all Kipsy was just a bunch of fucking humps that appeared in the water with some splashing. And there were some people swimming, and they got out of the water, and the local police were like, "Oh, do you think it was a shark?" They're like, "Oh no, it was something else. It was too big to be a shark. It was brown and it was humps." And they were like, "Oh, do you think it was a bear?" "No, it couldn't have been a bear. Because bears don't have humps. Bears aren't camels, you know."
What were the 3 multiple choices again? North Dakota, right?
North Dakota, New York, and Louisiana.
I'm gonna say New York.
All right, so Dylan is saying New York. Any particular reason why?
No.
All right. Why don't we go to Andres then? Andres, what's your guess?
Mm-hmm. Let's see, Louisiana, because I feel like there's more water there.
Louisiana, because you feel like there's more water there. All right. So
True, it's true.
That's your guess. David, what do you think, buddy?
I'm gonna say
where's
New York.
Kipsy from?
I'm gonna say New York because I'm assuming that Bill is the one who spread this legend.
It started in none of these are fake. Like none of these are fake. Like definitely not. Like I got all these offline. These are all purported to be official cryptid reports. Like I corroborated all this with eyewitness reports and did a little research on all of them. So I didn't make any of these up.
He interviewed the survivors.
I did. I mean, as I said, this started in 1899. I talked to somebody who's over 100 years old. It was crazy.
Bill is just in a monster suit.
he did a lot of peeing. It was a little weird. So do you guys want to find out which state Kipsy is actually from?
All right, sure.
Kipsy is a creature reported to be in the Hudson River of New York. So Dylan and David, you all got it right. Andres, you got it wrong. Be sure to mark that down for the kids.
I knew it sounded northern.
Why northern?
I don't know. It just has that sound to it. If it had been in Louisiana, they would have called it a fucking, I don't know.
Maybe for the fact that there's a place called Poughkeepsie in
I
New
was
York.
about to say that is, I think the reason. I believe the monster was sighted near there and got the name thanks to that.
Because y'all are closer to Canada, man. You get a little bit of that going on in your.
Well, yeah, as we made sure to make clear in our reenactment of the sighting. Oh, are you from Poughkeepsie? Are you? Yeah. I was down here getting a little sun. All of a sudden, some shit starts splashing around. Who needs shit splashing around when you're trying to get a little sun? You want it to be relaxing.
Oh, what happened was, it was the 1800s. Bill went for a swim, and then the locals got a little nervous.
I was a time traveler. Got a little too high. Andres, did you mark down the proper scoring?
Yeah, 1 for David and Dylan.
All right. So
and 2 for me.
You do, you little slut.
That was so sad, but it was like 1 for David and Dylan. Mogera.
Oh, brilliant. All right, so let's move on then. The Honey Island Swamp Monster. A bipedal hominid that, according to legend, is a hybrid between chimpanzee and alligator, thanks to a crashed circus train in the early 1900s. Yup, apparently a bunch of chimps crashed in this swamp, fucked some alligators, and that led to this monster. So, so which one did it start in? Louisiana, Alabama, or Georgia? Let's start with David.
Alabama, Louisiana, or Georgia?
The Honey Island Swamp Monster. Where did it start? Bipedal hominid, apparently a fucked cross between alligator and chimpanzee.
I'm going to say Louisiana because fucking Louisiana. Isn't there like too many bayous there?
Too many? Are you saying some of them should be removed?
Too many bayous or not enough?
That's
like Dylan said, a lot of
David, that should be the name and premise of your next movie, is like a guy who thinks there's too many bayous in Louisiana, and he tries to stop it.
It will win an Oscar, Bill.
Great, we'll co-write it. Are you going to put this monster in it that may or may not be from Louisiana?
I mean, it might.
Well, we'll find out when I reveal the truth, won't you? Don't get your hopes up. Andres, where do you think?
I'll go with Louisiana for the same reason, and it's bound. If I say Louisiana, it's bound to be right at some point.
Oh yeah, you said that last time too, you little bitch, didn't you? Dylan, what are you thinking?
I mean, yeah, it just feels right, man. I'm gonna say that the fucking chimpagator or whatever it's called is from Louisiana.
The Honey Island Swamp Monster is indeed from Honey Island Swamp, Louisiana. You could have just Googled it and found out. Yep.
Hooray.
So you were all right that time. Y'all get a point.
Also, as far as I know, Georgia and Alabama, not really known for swamps.
They do both have alligators, though, so they both could have been fucked by chimps and produced this monster.
I'm sure they probably both have swamps, too. It's just more stereotypically associated with Louisiana, and I'm a very stereotypical thinker.
I see. So that is an interesting backstory, though, isn't it? I stumbled across that one. I'd never heard of that before. I'd never heard of the honey. I'd never heard of most of these cryptids in this particular game, actually, before doing the research for this game.
It's weird because I'm Googling Honey Island swamp monster, and all I'm getting is just Bigfoot results.
Well, it is a Bigfoot-type creature, but apparently the idea is that it sprung from interbreeding between alligators and chimps, and it's like this really vicious creature. Anyway, so let's move on. The Beast of Busco, a beastly 500-pound snapping turtle. Sightings began in 1949 in a farmer's lake, became such a popular tourist attraction in that year that it led to a statewide traffic jam that had to be solved by state troopers. So which state was it? And by the way, don't get any ideas about starting to Google them now that I put that idea in your heads in the last fucking round. Don't do that. Make this fun and exciting. So let's keep this real. So your three choices for the Beast of Busco: Oregon, Alaska, or Indiana. Let's start with Andres. What are you thinking?
Let's see. What was it? Oregon, Indiana, and where else?
Alaska. Snapping turtle.
I'm
500
gonna go
pounds,
with
1949. Farmers.
I'm gonna go with
Traffic
Oregon.
jams.
Oregon.
Why? Any particular reason?
Feels like it'd be a more open area, whereas Indiana feels more city-like, too busy for a creature like that to get around.
Well, I will say he does stay in one particular lake, but I see your logic. There are definitely a lot of big lakes in Oregon. There are also a lot of river monsters and lake monsters in Oregon that have been reported, like Champ, Loch Ness Monster-esque types of things. So I can see your logic. That makes a lot of sense. Let's go to Dylan. What are you thinking, bro?
Okay, so I immediately eliminated Alaska just because snapping turtle, Alaska, doesn't jive. So that brings it down to Oregon or Indiana. And partially because Andres already said Oregon, and also partially because nothing exciting ever happened in Oregon, I'm going to say Indiana.
All right. Any other particular reason?
No.
Good to know your logic is as sound as always. David, what is your thought process here for the Beast of Busco?
I'm thinking Indiana too.
Why?
I have, to be honest, I just did 1 potato, 2 potato, and Indiana was the winner.
Flawless logic as always. I love it. So, would you guys like to find out the truth?
Sure.
Yeah, it was Indiana. You two guys have a knack for this. Andres, you're getting it, I think. But I think I'm gonna get you all of you sooner or later. So good job to all you guys though. Well, except for you, Andres, on that one.
Yeah. So points for Dylan and David again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't mean to be so mean-spirited about this. I'm just kidding around.
That's right. By the way, I'll be right back.
Oh, God, he's got to go cry.
All by myself.
All right.
Don't wanna be all by myself.
I get the funny feeling that whenever nobody wants Andres at home, he just goes up to his room and sings that out loud so everyone can hear.
There's nobody in the house with him. You mean like his Japanese neighbors, and they're like, the strange Mexican next door is making those sounds again.
And then the other Japanese neighbor is, go back to the snoring.
No, he doesn't take too long with his crying.
I mean, where did he go? To give birth or what?
To give birth. But in the meantime, so yeah, the Beast of Busco caused a bit of a stir because a bunch of people had seen it in one particular spot, so it had a little more credibility because people were like, "Oh, it's in this one spot. Like the creature must be in there." And it grew so popular that people were like, "Farmer, you own the lake, drain it. Let's see what's in there."
Drain the swamp.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Trump-esque, and he did it, and there was nothing
Was the
in there.
farmer like denying that shit? Like, there's no turtle in the
No,
water.
because he was the first one to fucking report it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
no,
he
he
was like,
was
"There's
well
a
into
turtle
it.
in my
He was
water."
making money off of it. The only problem was that it was causing traffic jams. The state didn't like him, but he was loving it.
Well, that's obviously why he started the rumor. I mean, that's a brilliant business move for a failing farmer.
There
you know,
go.
tell people you got a monster on your property and just fake the fuck out of that shit. It's a plot
Sell
right
the
out of
shit out of the corn you're making from the snapping turtle.
All right, I'm back.
All right, then. So we're going to move on to the next one. The Lizard Man. This is one that I'm a little more familiar with, and that's a little more popular than some of the others on this list. First reported in 1988. Always reported as assaulting vehicles and sometimes their occupants. Is it from South Carolina, North Carolina, or Michigan? Let's start with Dylan again.
I'm going to assume that a reptile person wouldn't want to live in Michigan because it's cold up there. I'm going to go with one of the Carolinas. But which one? Let's go South Carolina.
Again, any particular reason outside of it's a little more temperate than Michigan?
No, that's pretty much it. And I thought it was a pretty 50-50 shot on which Carolina, so I just picked one and hoped for the best.
David.
I'm going to say North Carolina.
Again, any particular reason? Aside
One
from
potato.
difference in temperature from Michigan?
Just one potato, two potato.
Oh, just keep doing that. I love it. Andres, what do you think, buddy?
I'm going to go with South Carolina for the same reasons, because I figure the more humid, the closer you are to Florida, the more humid it would be, which would be more appropriate for a reptile-like creature.
Running
And
for
we all know
for the equator, as we always are.
We all know that the lizards get bigger the closer you get to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
We've all seen the bathrooms. Anyway, so Andres, give yourself a point, buddy. You finally got one. David, you fucked
Hooray!
up. South Carolina is where the Lizard Man originated. The Lizard Man is another one though that is mostly just a tourist trap kind of thing. Although the reports are all a lot more violent. People in cars being attacked and the Lizard Man fucking up their cars. Although there is an idea that maybe it's just Bigfoot, because some of the sightings, the people say, oh, they may have been hairy and not scaly. It was hard to tell based on how far away they were. So the Lizard Man is some shady shit. But anyway, next. I picked this one based on the name. We're gonna move on to Big Bird. Yep.
That's easy. He's on. That's an easy one. He's on Sesame Street.
Well, we'll see about that. Big Bird.
What state is Sesame Street in, Andre?
I don't know, because they always tell you how to get to Sesame
How
Street,
do you
but
get
they're
to
very
Sesame Street, though?
they're always very vague when it comes to how you get to Sesame Street.
I mean,
Well-
listen. It's just like Ghostbusters. They tell me to call them, but they don't give me the fucking number.
Well, apparently you can find Big Bird in 1975, reportedly attacking children. But apparently he's not
The
reported
horror
as,
movies that I need made right now.
but apparently he's not reported as a big giant yellow flapping bird. He is a monkey-faced, 5 foot tall, more kind of raven-esque type of deal with an ape's head. Ape monkey-like is the eyewitness reports. But again, only reported to be about 5 feet tall, so not gigantic as the name might imply, not Thunderbird-esque as you might think.
So
Cocaine
obviously
is a
we're
hell
going
of
to
a
want to
drug.
try. We're going to want to try to think about states with higher rates of meth use for this one.
So, would that be Illinois, Ohio, or Texas? Let's start with Andres.
There are a lot of crazy meth addicts in big cities like Chicago, so I'm going to go with Illinois. Illinois.
You know this from personal experience. We've been there a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
Dylan, what are you thinking?
I'm going to say Ohio, because when you said it, something happened with your voice. You went, Ohio! I think that might have been a subconscious tip.
David?
Texas.
Why?
I mean, there's got to be a reason why they're wearing all those cowboy hats and why Matt Frank lives there.
To protect them. So Matt Frank is a cowboy hat wearing dude protecting them from monkey-faced birds that aren't that big when you think about it relative to humans. Is that what you're saying?
Matt Frank would want that to be produced. I'll finance it.
Marvelous. Well, I'm glad Matt Frank will be behind you. Because you got it right, David! You were the only one! The big bird is from Texas!
Oh, so that's where Sesame Street is.
How do y'all get to Sesame Street? We're gonna go take down Big Bird. Andres, you've been keeping proper track, right? We're on, that was the fifth one.
Fifth one, okay.
That should all make sense with your points, right?
It depends, because we're giving points to multiple people at the same time.
Right. We'll count it up all at the end. We'll see if it makes sense.
Okay.
If that's where Sesame Street is, where's the electric company?
Well, let's see if this guy knows. I mean, his name doesn't seem like it would, but let's ask dear old Nobby. Nobby is a traditional Native American legend about a red-eyed, dog-killing Bigfoot. That's his specific affinity. But it's also specific to a specific region. So why don't you guys tell me which region that is? Is it Montana, Mississippi, or North Carolina? Let's ask David.
You're killing me with Middle and East America, East American states.
David.
I'm going to say Mississippi.
Any particular reason? You just like the name? Rolls off the tongue?
I mean, are there swamps in the Mississippi or not?
Why do you need swamps for Nobby? He just likes to kill dogs, and he's based on a Native American lore.
It could be a swamp ape or one of those Bigfoots that live in the swamp.
Does that just more tie to you with the violence of the legend?
Because I remember watching a documentary about skunk apes, swamp apes, whatever they're called, and apparently they're more violent than the average Bigfoot.
Are you sure this wasn't like some fan fiction you were writing? I mean, no, you're right. You're right. That's why I brought that up. I agree with you. The southern, more humid climate Bigfoots are reported to be more violent than their northern, more tree-hugging counterparts in Canada.
I can't help it. That's the humidity, huh?
I can't help but think it's the people reporting the sightings. I don't know, though. So, Andres, what do you think?
I'm going to go with, what were the options again?
Montana, Mississippi, North Carolina.
I'm going to go with Montana because it's closer to where it's like that foresty, mountainous region next to Canada where you would suspect the Bigfoot to show up in.
Lots of knobs up there. Makes a lot of sense. Dylan, what are you thinking?
I'm also going to go with Montana for the same reason Andres just said, but also because I kind of associate that more with like Native Americans than I do like the swamp. I feel like this is some tribe that's living on a plain and they look in the forest and they're like, there's a fucking Nobby in there.
Well, much like those reportees probably were back then, knobs. You guys are all knobs. I tripped you all up this time. You're all wrong. It was North Carolina.
Oh, shit.
None of you get any points.
Oh, no.
So what happens when that happens, Bill?
Well, we'll see.
Nothing.
We'll count it all up at the end, and we'll see if we have to do a tiebreaker. I'll come up with something. So yeah, you guys were all wrong. It's North Carolina. But why don't we move on then to the final one? May or may not be the tiebreaker. We'll see when we get to the end. The Frogmen. Some H.P. Lovecraft shit. First seen in 1955 by some businessmen and some gun-happy cops on a single lonely road once every couple of decades preceding that. Following that, I meant to say. Reportedly, they also use magic wands. So, is it...
Frogmen use magic wands?
Yes.
It sounds like a really shitty sequel of the Alligator People.
Or a really great one. So is it in New York, Ohio, or Washington? Let's start with Dylan.
Washington the state or Washington?
Yeah, this is all based on states.
Okay. I'm thinking either Ohio or Washington.
Why?
I don't know. It just doesn't strike me as a New York thing.
Too stupid or not stupid enough?
Both, kind of. No. Let's go with Washington. That's the first West Coast state you've mentioned so far. That's kind of a wild card. Let's bet on black. Let's play the odds.
Andres, what are you thinking?
Let's see. What were the options again? Sorry.
So the Frogmen, New York, Ohio, Washington.
Very far away from each other.
You're looking at a map, aren't you?
Yep.
I love it. I love how I inspire such effort.
I'm not familiar with half of the with the right half of these states.
A West Coast. I fuck up my West Coast friends. I love it.
Let's see. I'm gonna say, I don't know. Fuck it, Ohio.
All right.
It's pretty much like having driven through. Wait, let's see. We didn't drive through. Did we drive through Ohio?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like the middle of nowhere, so that's a perfect story for some obscure frogman to be living around.
Terrorizing businessmen and gun-happy cops.
It seems like they would have nothing better to do than make up stories of frog people with magic wands.
David, where are they waving around their magic wands? Tell us. What do you think?
New York, because frogmen, they have to come from
the sewers.
Some sorts of water, right?
Well,
we got teenage mutant wizard frogs.
I'd pay to see that. Apparently,
living in the sewers of New York.
Apparently, so would David. And it's
I would finance that.
It's interesting you bring that up, Dave, because the mascot for my school is actually the Carl Place Frogs. Which is why I made that up as a bullshit fucking answer. You got it wrong. It's Ohio. Andres was the one who was right.
Woo!
Giving you the final point. So Andres, tally up all the answers and tell us who won.
Right.
I love how much he cared about getting that final point. I was like, woo!
I'm calculating it, and I'm calculating the results. I'm going through a bunch of systematic stuff, all very technical stuff. Beep 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 beep. It's processing.
Carry the 2.
Carry the 2. Divide by 0.
You can't divide by 0. You'll only get 0. No, that's actually not true. I think it's an impossible, an imaginary number. I forget. I don't remember pre-calculus. Anyway, who won?
Okay, so let's see. It's a tie between David and Dylan with a total score of 4.
What'd you have?
And 3.
Oh, all right. So it's a tie. So even if, all right. So Andres, I'm gonna count you out of this one. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. You disqualified yourself. We're gonna do a tiebreaker between David and Dylan. I'm gonna give you guys a very specific sighting from my memory, some kind of cryptid related story, and I want you guys to tell me which state it started in. All right.
Jersey Devil?
You're cute. I love you. You're cute.
I would say let the best man win, but it would be unfair to favor myself like that.
I gotta remember that. That's brilliant.
All right, you guys are actually going to have to give me a second. So can one of you stall? We're not stall. Just David and Dylan, toss some shade at each other.
Oh, here's something I forgot to bring up in the news. This was something that was really funny. Do you guys saw the new poster for for Spider-Man: Homecoming?
Oh, the Iron. Yes.
Yeah, everyone was making fun of it for looking too photoshopped, and how you had like two Tony Starks, and two Vultures, and two Spider-Mens, two Peter Parkers.
Yeah, there's two of everybody on that poster. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a full body portrait. Sometimes it's just only a floating head.
It's like it's like all of the worst poster tropes put together in one poster.
Right.
All right, I'm ready.
Oh, and then like all the locations, you got like New York, but then you got fireworks, and then you see the Washington Monument for some reason tucked away in the corner.
Didn't Robert Downey Jr. respond to it and be like, that's funny because it is a shit poster?
You know what would have been a better poster? Recreate the comic book cover from that first story.
What's funny is that like somebody did like a further Photoshop job. I'm trying to look for it right now, but after he posted it, he said, after creating this, I don't know where the real poster ends and where the parody begins.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty funny.
I'm in Marvel. I'm gonna see the movie anyway, but calm down.
All right, so I'm ready. So let's talk about the Dog Man, the North American werewolf. Sighted along roads, the focal point of many hoaxes, the Gimbal film. I've talked about that on podcasts before. A hoax of a guy dressed up in a camouflage suit running at a camera and reportedly killing a man. That was a hoax for many years and reported by radio and internet, email, fucking sending it and shit. So the Dog Man is one of those popular names, much like Bigfoot, fucking Skunk Ape, all the big name American monsters. The Dog Man is up there. But which state did he originate from, Dylan and David? Was it Wyoming? Was it West Virginia? Or was it Wisconsin? Let's start with David.
Wyoming or West Virginia, and what was the other one?
Wisconsin.
I'm going to say Wisconsin.
David's going with Wisconsin. Dylan, what are you going with? Wyoming, West Virginia, Wisconsin.
Let's go West Virginia.
Why?
Well, most of these things tend to be closer to the East Coast. I think Wyoming is a little bit too far west. Also, I don't know. Just seems. Well, I can't say the same thing as that David said, because then if it was right, we'd have to come up with another tiebreaker round. So since it was between those two, I just went with the other one.
I see. Well, the Dogman is also known as the Beast of Bray Road. And Bray Road, Andres, can you guess which state Bray Road is located in?
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the options.
Oh my god. Just take a wild stab in the dark. What state do you think Bray Road would be located in? What state does it sound like that would be in?
New York?
No, it's in Wisconsin, you dumb fuck. David was right. David wins. Yay!
To be fair, I knew where the Dogman originated from,
Oh,
but I
really?
didn't know
So
it was...
you know where Bray Road was.
No. Because for the longest time, I've known it. It was known to me as the Michigan Dogman. I just didn't think the Michigan was in Wisconsin.
No, Michigan is a different state.
Oh, wait.
That's the whole other place. You're Wisconsin. No, It is closer to Michigan than any other state on the list, though, so I could see your thought process there.
The sightings probably exist in both states, but Wisconsin is where Bray Road is. That's where the sightings originated. So.
Oh, wait, I'm confused. So, where did they film that hoax of the dog man?
I don't know if that was even in any of the states that are tied with the sightings, but that may have been. I'm pretty sure that was in Wisconsin, but that was just like that was after the Dogman sightings were even a really big deal. That was a guy just fucking around with an old camera he found and a camouflage suit he had. So, good job though, David. You won in this, unlike many other things in life. So I commend you.
You motherfucker.
No. Good job. I hope you guys enjoyed this new rendition of Cryptids Who Knows, and another new game for you. We may come back with this. There's other options. Maybe we'll do a global edition of Cryptids from around the world with different countries and shit. And we'll come back with fucked up cryptid sightings at some point as well. In terms of the next specific cryptid we'll talk about, though, I don't know. You guys got any suggestions?
That fucking dinosaur that they keep seeing in Africa.
Oh yeah, Makolo Membe or something.
Macaulay Membe.
Macaulay Culkin.
Macaulay Culkin Membe. Oh no, it's Macaulay Membe. Yes, the dinosaur of Africa, of the Congo region. All right, I'm down to do that.
Michael Mamambo number 5.
Sounds right to me. That's what we're going to talk about next time then on Cryptids Who Knows. We're going to talk about Macaulay Membe, the African Congo dinosaur that none of us can pronounce. It's going to be a good time. So we hope you will stick with us until then, though. Is there anything that we need to say before we wrap up the podcast for this week?
Let's see. After a long hiatus, I'm finally going to have my Rebirth of Mothra 2 review up and ready, hopefully by the time this podcast is up. I feel like you guys are really going to enjoy what Brayton and I and another collaborator named Crooked Lore Productions have in store for you guys. And yeah, hope you enjoy it.
Awesome. I didn't know you hadn't reviewed that already. I thought you did all the Heisei era Toho movies.
No, I took quite a long break between Rebirth of Mothra and Rebirth of Mothra 2. And since then, I've kind of gotten a new style ready for the review.
All right. Sweet. Anything else? Any other whoring out that needs to be done? I will take that silence as a no, like I always do.
Oh,
from all
I did. So I recently I also recently did a review of our friend Denny Roth's comic Martial Star, which you can find on Etsy.com and as well as online on martialstar.thewebcomic.com. Let's see. So you can check out my review if you're curious for some 90s style, anime-inspired style sci-fi western action.
Pimping out a friend. Now that I can get behind. I love that kind of whoring out.
We'll see. We'll see if he's pimping him out. Andres' reviews have been known to crush dreams.
Oh boy.
Oh.
I love the internet. Shining point of humanity, as always.
Mm-hmm.
So until next time, as humanity shines on, I'm Bill Worster, aka Zazubar.
I'm Gorzard, and the only thing I'm pimping out is Bill, aka Bill Memes.
I'm Super DM64, and there for a second I thought the two of you were in a business venture that I was not aware of.
I mean, it could
that I was also not aware of. Like I was like, what the?
And I'm Andres Perez, a.k.a. Kaiju Noir, the man who sets trends even if nobody follows them.
And, yeah, I mean, the science, to call it science is stretching the limits of logic tenuously.
Once you brought in wizarding frogmen, there is no science to be found at that point.
Even still, I still think we should try. So the science is sound.